Welcome again, and thank you for joining our global webinar day here at Infosim. Our topic today is, are you ready for IoT, for the Internet of Things? My name is Dietmar Kneidl, Director of Sales Europe with Infosim, and I will be your moderator for today's event. Joining us from our headquarter office here in Würzburg, Germany is Matthias Schmid, our Director of Project Management and also a founding member of Infosim. Matthias leverages over a decade experience leading high-profile solution projects that have been critical to reaching each of Infosim's milestones of customer success. In addition to working at our headquarter office here in Germany, Matthias has led projects in Singapore, helping our company expand its global reach in the Asia-Pacific region. Matthias holds a degree in computer science from the University of Würzburg and is fluent in German and English. So, good afternoon to you, Matthias, and welcome to our global webinar day.
Yes, hello Dietmar, and hello to everybody.
All right. Before I hand over things to our presenter, I have a couple of items that I'd like to know you about. First off, all of you are automatically muted to keep down the background noise. So for us to be able to answer, actually see and answer your questions, please use the questions window at the bottom of the GoToWebinar application. And as usual, we'll be taking care of all of your questions either directly in the chat or at the end of today's webinar in our Q&A session. So please don't be shy. Let us know if you have a question or remark at any time. Also, please be aware that this event is being recorded and you get a notification email tomorrow on how to access that recording. Well, that's all the items I had on my list, so I'd like to go ahead, hand over control to our presenter, Matthias Schmid. Matthias, are you ready to take over?
Yes, I'm ready. Thank you, Dietmar. Before I want to start with my presentation, I want to give you a quick overview about today's agenda. At first, I want to explain why IoT is no revolution, but an evolution on my eyes. And is there a standard for IoT? And then I want to show how StableNet can help you to monitor, analyze, and secure your IoT devices. And last but not least, I will show you several real-world examples before the question and answer session starts. So, before we can clarify why IoT is no revolution but an evolution, we have to clarify why IoT. Why Internet of Things? IoT allows the interaction not only between computerized system, but also other things like a fridge, light, air condition, heater, and so on. So the IoT tries to make your life better in several topics. For example, it wants to monitor and control devices, to have a remote or from one central point possibility to control, for example, your home automation. It wants to give you more comfort by automatic activation depending on your user behavior, for example, to optimize the heating and air condition in your home. And another important topic is energy cost efficiency. So it tries to optimize your power consumption, for example, the fridge, or optimize parameters like the temperature in your room. And it can also improve the security, so you can have a quick look and check on your mobile if all windows are closed or who is currently in my home. But I think all of this is well known by you, and we also had some other webinars regarding to IoT where you can check for further information too. So to get back to the topic, why IoT is no revolution but an evolution. The goal of IoT exists for quite some time. For example, Infosim introduced the management of server cabinets 13 years ago. These components had been temperature sensors, humidity sensors, airflow sensors, door lock sensors, and so on. And wasn't that already IoT? So Now the question is, how can you cope with the resulting challenges, for example, for the vulnerability? And am I already affected by the IoT components? I'm not using IoT. Are you really sure? I will try to answer this question and clarify them in today's webinar. IoT is everywhere and for everybody. IoT devices exist, and it's very easy to upgrade your old stuff to make them also IoT able. For example, you can measure the power consumption very easily, for example for your fridge, to identify if there is any failure. For example, if the door is slightly open and you have high power consumption, or is it necessary to defrost the fridge because power consumption is higher than normally. You can also very simple install sensors to check if all windows are closed in your home, or you can measure the power consumption of your washing machine to get immediately informed when the washing machine is finished. You can also use fitness tracker to check your health. This is also an IoT device which can be combined with your mobile. And many other things what are possible. All of this is now possible and affordable through the miniaturization and also the standardization. So I come now to the next topic on our agenda regarding the standardization. Is there a standard for IoT? Yes, it is. It's amazing. SNMP is still useful for the new IoT technology. POS, point of sales, use SNMP, baking machines in supermarkets, server cabinet monitoring, as mentioned before, and so on. But to get involved and influence those new standards which will come, Infosim has many corporations. For example, the Intel IoT solution architecture. The goal is integration and the usage of the Dell Edge gateways for IoT. These are gateways I will introduce later with Intel components inside. We are also involved in the TM forum, where we made last time a demonstration called Robots as a Service, and we also were participating the Cisco Live. Both exhibitions took place some weeks ago with similar IoT topics. There had been many demonstrations including IoT, and we heard all around buzzwords like smart health. So for example, you can remotely send biometric parameters to your doctor. Smart city. Here you want to avoid traffic jams by controlling your traffic lights, and you can also do some event planning for what leads us to smart climate. In the area of smart climate and energy, the goal is to have an intelligent energy and waste control to reduce the carbon footprint. And last but not least in this list, we have the smart industrial manufacturing. In Germany, it's well known as Industrie 4.0. Industry 4.0. On this TM forum we were participating. We won a TM forum catalyst, what is a demonstration prize for our demo Robots as a Service. I want to give you a quick overview what was the topic of this demonstration and what was our role. Infosim role was to make the inventory and performance and fault management part. Below you can see a picture how the different components are combined. At the top you see a customer who makes a product specification and places an order. On the left side you can see a robot, and in the middle you can see the supplier order system where components can be ordered which are required for the production. All of those components are connected via a communication layer, and this communication layer uses the APIs which are a result of this TM forum. We also can use easily those APIs and make a connection from our fault and config part and performance and management part to the communication layer to communicate to all of the other components. The result was that they had a management overview which as a weather map, and this also could included drill down options, so each of those colors here can be clicked on and then you can see in detail what is behind. You can also have a graphical representation as a geographical alarm map where you can zoom in and out. And of course, as shown in some other global webinar days before, we have a REST API which makes it very easy to use applications on your mobile to get connected with StableNet and see, for example, the alarm list. You can make geographical cell location. Of course, you can also see the dashboards, but also some performance information. What are you interested in? So now I come to the next topic. How StableNet helps you to monitor, analyze, and secure your IoT devices. Our vision is to have StableNet as a central control and management system for the IoT. All information on your fingertips. This can be easily done because Infosim is IoT, or has an IoT ready by design. We have a joint 3-in-1 solution with fault, performance and configuration, which is approved for more than 13 years in enterprise and telco space. In this time we had many individual customer applications beyond IT and network. For example, temperatures in fridges, baking machines, etc. We can also monitor power usage. We can integrate cameras, financial data, etc. All those components can be easily combined using StableNet. For this, we have different interfaces which can be used to the northbound to provide information to users or other systems, make reports and so on. And on the southbound, we have different kind of interfaces, including SNMP, to adapt other devices or services to. SN for IoT, StableNet for IoT. With StableNet you can improve your workflow with continuous monitoring and evaluation of data. You can automatically generate reports and have an alerting, including root cause analysis. That means if a gateway, IoT gateway, has a failure, you won't get an error for each sensor which has also a failure, of course, then, but you will get only one alarm saying that the gateway has a failure, and in regards of this, of course, all sensors have also a failure. That makes the root cause analysis very easy, and so you can fix such a problem very quick. StableNet has also dashboards with aggregated information from different sources, and of course the well-known vulnerability module, we also have some global webinars for, it can also be used for not only for network elements, but it can also be used here for IoT devices. So you can get informed when there is a security fix for one of your IoT devices. But now let's see some real examples. I will show you as one first real-world example, the perhaps already known smart home IoT from our CTO Marius. It was also presented in another global webinar in regards of the SNIA. Here he measures the in and outdoor temperature, heating control, power usage, webcam pictures, and so on. All of them were combined, and the result was represented in such a weather map. Here you can see a floor, different rooms, and the temperature in the room, and also the status. For example, here you can see the fridge is red. I assume it's empty. You can also see the webcam picture, how it looks like in the outside, and below you see two charts. The chart on top is the outside temperature, and below you can see the power consumption of the heating. You can easily see that in the night there is a zero line, that means there is no power consumption because the heating is completely off at night. And in the day you see a baseline. This is used, or this is caused by heating the rooms to have your baseline for this. And then the peaks are if the boiler is heated, what happens every 2 hours, for example, to heat the water in. And you can also make some reports or trending and see how, for example, the outdoor temperature is. This example here is from January, so you can see the temperature fell below zero. We had snow, you can see in the picture from the webcam, and later on temperature rise, and then you see that the snow is melting, and outside you can see a little bit more green. So I also want to show now another example where we are engaged in. It's another partnership with a building automation vendor. The target is the management of the automation system from this vendor. And we are monitoring sensors, and not only sensors like door and window, room temperature and light, but also sensors from companies, for factories, like machine temperature and access to security areas like server room, because the system is not only for home private automation, it's also for general building, factories and so on. And all that can be managed by StableNet. Another partnership we are engaged in is the partner program with Dell and Intel. For Intel we have the Intel IoT Solution Alliance, and with Dell the so-called Dell IoT Partner Program. This includes Intel because they are working together. And the outcome of this cooperation is the Dell IoT Gateway, which you can see on this picture. It's a very robust, passively cooled hardware box, including a CAN bus. This CAN bus is in all your vehicles, on all your cars, and can easily read out the stages and some parameters like speed from your car very easily. The box also includes GPS to localize itself, GSM to get connected, and some other interfaces which makes it very easy to adapt or to integrate other sensors on the serial, USB or network port. What is currently planned with these gateways? We are currently checking the integration on public transport or construction vehicles. With that, we then will have the possibility to check unallowed usages of these cars or these vehicles. We can view the location of them in real time on a map, and also errors can immediately reported to avoid outages, so the machines can be repaired before any major issue appears. In the area of logistics, we are doing monitor of goods with RFID tags. So we have different IoT components around, and whenever such a good with an RFID tag passes such an IoT device, the position of this good is transferred to a central point, so it's very easy to locate the path and also the current location of such goods. This is very important where uninterrupted monitoring is required. For example, in the health area with blood conserves, in the consumer area with frozen goods, and also financial area where the destroying of banknotes really makes it necessary to have uninterrupted monitoring to assure that the banknotes are really destroyed if necessary. So before I want to show you the last real-world example, I want to give you a quick overview about a StableNet Embedded Agent. It's described in more detail in another global webinar in the past. The StableNet Embedded Agent snare code is on Banana Pi ARM processor based. It is a plug-and-play black box appliance which typically can have more than 1,000 measurements and can make more than 200 megabyte per second VoIP traffic. This is important for the next example with our multimedia script. And of course, it's also possible to use all available Java business process script, and you can of course extend this by writing your own business script if you like. The documentation is available on each StableNet middleware installation. So now I want to give you an overview how VoIP monitoring can be set up on a huge energy supplier with many locations. Here we have on the left side the VoIP gateway, which is connected to the public switched telephone network. This gateway sends additionally RTCP data to our StableNet server, so it's easy to check the trend of each call which happened, each real call which happened. And this makes it easy to check in the past when the call quality was bad, if it, like stated by the user, if it was it really. You can see the VoIP phones and one snare located on each location. And not to only be available or depending on the calls which are taking place by the users, we do a continuously simulation of VoIP calls between all the snares and the main agent on the StableNet server. So we can proactively identify in advance before something happens if there's a degradation, and the administrator can work to fix it before any of the user complains. And of course they are using Wi-Fi. This is what I want to show in the next slide. Here we have one location, and on the left side you see a part of the main location, and each of those locations not only has a snare which is connected by a cable, we also have there a Wi-Fi access point and of course the VoIP phones. But to have connectivity, a mobile connectivity, the customer is using Wi-Fi mobiles which are connected to the access point, so we need also to monitor those Wi-Fi quality. And because it's more fragile than a cable, it's of course of most interest to check how the connectivity for the Wi-Fi is. And last but not least, the customer has a so-called mobile Wi-Fi snare. That means a snare was combined with a battery pack and can be used to walk around at a customer location. And perhaps you're saying, oh, this can I do with my smartphone also, but we are not doing only ping. We can continuously simulate VoIP calls and check parameters like MOS value, jitter, one-way delay, and all the other parameters our script provides. This is very useful, so the administrator really knows if there are some access point missing and can assure that the Wi-Fi can be used on all positions in the building. So now I want to come to the conclusion. IoT is no revolution but an evolution, and I think you are already using IoT in any area of your life. StableNet supported IoT before IoT was on everyone's lips. You remember the server cabinet monitoring we were introducing 13 years ago. And Infosim is still engaged in several partner programs to have the finger on the pulse of time and to influence standards and to know every change which is planned to do. StableNet is already used in a lot of IoT projects to cope with the challenges of IoT usage, so StableNet is ready for IoT. We want to work together to realize the vision. So I want to say thank you to you, and I think now we can start to the question and answer session.
Thank you, Matthias, for that interesting presentation. Before we dive into the Q&A session, just a little info. Most of you have probably seen that by now. I've uploaded the PDF version of the PowerPoint slides we've used for this webinar in the GoToWebinar download section, so you can see that on your panel. You're able to download a version of this presentation right now. And coming to the question, I just picked a few ones. Some of them answered directly in the chat, but picked a few ones, and I think they all evolve around the StableNet Embedded Agent. I'm sorry, you confused me with that mobile version of it. There was one question from the audience, Matthias. One of our attendees said, so what's going to happen if I have to add more than just a few of those snares? Let's suppose 100 or maybe even a few hundred of those snares need to be onboarded into StableNet. Is that a solely manual process, or is there another way to do that?
Yes, there is another way, of course, to do, because yes, normally if you add some agents, you normally do this using the GUI. But if you have more StableNet agents, for example, we have the so-called auto-registration module. This allows the agents to registrate by their own to the StableNet server. So you don't have to worry about you can be assured that each agent gets automatically added to the StableNet server without any manual interaction.
All right. I think that pretty much covered that question. Another question that popped up actually came from several of our attendees about the topic of security. How secure is it to onboard a snare? How secure is the connectivity to and from those snares? Are there any attack points? Are there any weaknesses? Is there anything we can do in order to make sure they're safe?
Yes, it's also possible to use a VPN, and this is also set up automatically from the snare in regards of this auto-registration. So you can use the auto-registration without VPN or with VPN if this is required.
Okay, thank you for that. There's another question in here. I think you mentioned that if it's able, you were able to connect a Wi-Fi dongle to the snare. Is there a way to connect other sensors directly to the snare? Is that possible? Are there specific interfaces for that?
Yes, it's possible. Yes, it's very easy. At first, of course, you have this USB port where you can plug in different kind of sensors already provided with USB. For example, these temperature sensors our CTO is using is a USB device which remotely connects to different temperature sensors around this building. But it's also very easy possible to use the GPIO ports on the snare where you can plug in all other components you like. So it's very easy to extend the snare to adapt other sensors to it.
Okay, and there is an add-on question, I guess, to kind of the question I asked you last. Is there a way to? You mentioned that we're doing VoIP calls with the snare through our multimedia script, and the question from our attendee was: is there a way to simulate like other services or other events through a snare? So basically asking about what can the snare do as well, except for maybe a little wireless LAN measuring and VoIP calls.
Yes, the snare can, of course, also use some other applications to monitor, not only VoIP. For example, you can use all business process scripts to monitor NTP, DHCP, but also some more interesting queries, like, for example, you can check how the Oracle server responds, how a web portal responds from different locations in your company, and some other applications you're using. So in generally, everything is possible. We have a very open interface which allows to monitor what you require.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Matthias. I'll have to apologize to all of those attendees that questions we have not yet answered. We'll make sure that we're going to follow up with every single one of you. Just to give you an example, we have currently 23 questions that we could still be answering. So that would probably take a little bit too long, but again, don't worry, we have recorded all of those questions. We're going to get to you via email today or tomorrow or early next week, and we're also going to leave this session open for a few more minutes. So if you have additional questions, please feel free to let us know. Again, we have more web sessions and other StableNet related topics available on our website. We have a large resource section, so please feel free to visit our website and help yourself. In case you don't find what you're looking for, please let us know. We're happy to help. Well, thank you very much again, Matthias, for the session, and I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. We have reached our time limit for this webinar, unfortunately. As I've mentioned earlier, we have recorded this webinar. We're going to make it available to you with a link tomorrow. You're going to get a short email from us. And well, I guess that's all from us today. Matthias, again, any famous last words?
No, I don't have famous words, but I want to say thank you to you, Dietmar, for the moderation, and for the whole audience. Thank you, and bye.
All right. Just one last remark from my end, just to mention our next Global Webinar Day is going to be August 25th. So this is the last Thursday in August. You're going to find an invite in your inbox within the next 2-3 weeks. And thanks again for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.